Hi, welcome back to PragmaticAgility. In the last lesson, we installed Oracle VirtualBox, dbeaver, and Vagrant. And I said that we were going to go ahead and get started with setting up Vagrant, but we're actually still missing a couple pieces of useful software. So we're going to go ahead and install those. The two pieces of software I'm talking about is Notepad++ and Git Bash to be specific. So let me go ahead and get into my virtualization. It's nested virtualization for this, so virtual machine within a virtual machine. All right, so first we'll go ahead and say Git for Windows. And I believe this is what we're looking for. 64-bit Windows setup. Oh, it already knows what I want. It must have scanned what I was using. Run. Of course, if you don't get that, be sure to pick the type of Windows you're running. Most people run 64-bit nowadays, but if you are on 32-bit, you will need the 32-bit version. So next, all the defaults are fine. So we're not, in this instance, we're not necessarily interested in the Git version control, but that is a nice benefit as well, because Git is an excellent version control software. So you can go through all the defaults here, then install. But what we are really getting our hands on with this is Git Bash, because that will emulate a Linux terminal and it'll just make working with Vagrant easier. You can use the command shell or PowerShell, but then you got to do special setups for that, and it's just easier to use the Linux emulation, for me at least. And we also need to install Notepad++. Again, we just need to download and go through the defaults are fine, unless you know you want to install it somewhere else. So here we go. Finish. I'm going to run the Notepad++ installer. Okay. Next. Install. And finish. Close it. Okay. Now let's go through that Vagrant setup. Okay, I'm going to go to my documents, and I'm going to go ahead and click to make a new folder. I'm going to go ahead and call it Vagrant. And the Vagrant machine we're setting up for this is going to be Ubuntu. So I'm just going to make another subfolder called Ubuntu. And then I'm going to right click and select Git Bash here. This becomes available after you install that Git program we did earlier. And it should look like that. We need to find this website, app.vagrantup.com/boxes/search. And we're going to go ahead, I'm going to choose the one of the types of OSs I'm most familiar with, which is Ubuntu, but I'm going to get the new one. It's in here somewhere. There we go, generic Ubuntu 18.04. That's the one. Okay, we're going to select new. Then we're going to copy this top line right here. Copy. We're going to go into our bash shell and paste that command in. That's going to create a file for us as soon as the command finishes running. And there's that file. So I'm going to right click it, select Edit with Notepad++, which is available after you install the Notepad++ software. And here's some configuration options. Now I have some config options already ready. The commands we want for this is right here. But we actually just need two of these commands. Go back into the Vagrant file. And I'll make these commands available either via a Git repository or in the comment or in the description, whichever seems easier. I'm going to get rid of this. We're not doing a web server. So quickly, what this is very simple so far. We just appended two commands, which is we're going to tell Vagrant that when it initiates a host for the first time, it needs to provision it, run it by running this script.sh file, which doesn't exist yet. We're about to make that. And then next, we want to forward the port, the guest 3306 to host 3306. So what this is doing, this is making sure that when we set up our Ubuntu Linux server and install MySQL, that we'll be able to communicate with MySQL through our host and guest relationship. So that's all we need here. Now we need to create that script.sh file. This will make our getting off the ground a lot easier. So script.sh. Now, in case you're having this issue too, this is Windows trying to trick me. Thank you, Windows. So that's not really the extension. It's hiding the extension from me. And so I need to go change that. Show hidden files. Hide extensions for known file types. No. Oh, so annoying. Okay. Get rid of that .txt. There we go. Now I'll have a .sh file. All right. And now we need to go ahead and copy this and paste it into this sh file. Save it. And let's go ahead and walk through this very quickly. We don't want to go into too much detail. This is almost the content of another lesson. We want to get MySQL up and running and be able to interact with it. So this script is going to run because Vagrant's going to initialize or provision the host or the virtual machine when it first starts up. So these commands are going to run against that host. So it's Ubuntu Linux. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to update. Well, actually, the first thing it's going to do is set two variables. User is going to be root, password, PragmaticAgility. So it's going to run an update command. We actually don't need any of the PHP stuff. Let me get rid of that. But that command would install PHP. All right. So then this command is going to go to the web and get the MySQL 8 configuration file. It's going to set the front end to non-interactive, which means that we don't have to interact with the installation. We're going to then run the command, piping it a yes, so that it just says yes to anything that requires a yes/no response. So it's going to install that. We're going to do an update. We're going to set our default data selections to the respective values so that MySQL does not bother us for it. So this will make the whole installation automatic. So this is a reference to the password up here, and it's telling the system that when we install MySQL, we want you to go ahead and use this password, which is up here, PragmaticAgility. And then we also, this is important too, is we want to make sure that we use the legacy authentication method, because it just makes the installation much easier to deal with. And then finally we install MySQL. So let's go ahead and take care of this. So now we're going to do Vagrant up. And while this is running, you're going to see all these commands run on the screen. And this can take a minute for a system to do all this. And by a minute, I mean usually 3 to 5 minutes on a decent computer. If you got a really fast computer, maybe 2 minutes. In any case, I will fast forward this to where it is, to where it completes. If you get this box, make sure you allow access for VirtualBox. Click Allow Access. Okay, it's finished. And if you do have a couple issues, like it took you a minute to select the OK for the network and then you get a invalid state error, check VirtualBox Manager to see if your box is running. And then also, you can also run Vagrant provision for it to run through the steps again of installing or running the shell script. And if something didn't finish in the shell script, it will try to run it again. With that said, that ends this lesson. I hope you were able to get that up and running. In the next lesson, we're going to go ahead and connect to our new database server with dbeaver, as well as set up a special directory sync so that we can import databases into MySQL. Anyways, if you found this content useful, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.